Hi everyone. Hello, hello. Happy Father's Day. Yay. How are you? Thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of Wise Words. Wise Words, guys. Who's excited with me? Who is? I know you are. Honestly, tonight is going to be super, super exciting. I'm very excited to welcome you to Wise Words on Parenting, and this is episode 3, and it's episode 3 with Idy Enang. All right. Before I introduce you to our guest tonight, or this morning or this afternoon, wherever you may be when you're watching the replay, I am so looking forward to having you with us, and I'm sure that we will have a good time. All right. Before I jump in, and I know that a few people are waiting to come on to know that we're live. I just want to say that after we finished our last the recording of the second episode, as I was just packing up, I had this very unfortunate news of someone very dear. Like I know this lady from afar, not really closely, Ibidun Igodalo, who passed on a week ago, and I just want to say that we're sending our love to Pastor Igodalo and Keke and their son, and just our prayers are with you, and it just really touched my heart. Such a gift, but yes, we thank God for her life. All right. So I said I was going to do that at the opening of the third episode. Okay, so that's done. If you do, rest in peace, and may your family be blessed. Okay, so I've given a few seconds, a few minutes for people to join us, and I'm sure that you will. It is my greatest honor and privilege and excitement and joy, and whenever you watch this, to welcome this super excellent technocrat father. I've known him, I think, almost half of my life now, and you will know why. Yes, we do share the same surname. You'll know why in a bit. But please welcome with me the ever fantastic, super awesome Mr. Idy Enang. He's popularly just called Idy Enang. We call him Big Bros. If you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. But yes, this is Idy Enang, the famous one. Big Bros. That's what I call him. Welcome! Yay!
Thank you, Bolale. Thank you for having me.
How
You,
are you?
Bolale. Well, with folks like you, there's no dull moment. So, how else could I be but excited? And I'm feeling great. I'm grateful to God for life and the opportunity to be able to share and also to lean. And well done on the great work you're doing. We're very proud of you. I'm excellently proud of you, and I know we all are. Thank you, my Boli.
Hey, thanks, Big Bros. You see, he calls me my bully. I call him Big Bros because we're family. If you look at our names, yes, let me do that. You will see that we both have the same surnames. Okay, and there's a reason for that. There's a big reason for that. But I'm very excited because I'm so excited to have you on this episode. Okay, so I think the first question I'd like to ask you is, how are you feeling?
How what?
How are you feeling today?
Um, I'm feeling very great. Feeling great. I mean, it's Father's Day. What a great coincidence. A big shout out to all the fathers all around the world. I mean, I talk about fathers, the ones that are responsible, that are able to act out the script as expected of true fathers, fathers who are masters of their household, fathers who are responsible, and who, at the end of the day, do only one thing: to build and to ensure that the kingdom and the generations after them are truly prosperous. Fathers who are trustees of posterity. So, shout out to all of them. I feel excited. I feel great. I mean, it's a rare coincidence and a bit of mixed emotions. I've been going through loads of messages on Twitter, on Instagram, and most of the personal messages sent to me kind of a bit of that broke me down a bit. But otherwise, great. I feel excellent and I feel great.
Awesome, awesome. So, Big Boss, you see, okay, I need to call you your phone. Which do you prefer, Big Boss?
Big bros, that's what.
Because I know that even at your workplace, the few times I'd visited, back then, and we're going to talk about all of that. I noticed people are very comfortable with calling you ID Enang. In fact, it felt a bit strange to refer to you as Mr. Idy Enang, if you know what I mean. It just felt it felt slightly strange, but anyway, here we are. Okay, so before I ask about how you're feeling during this time, of this season of life that you're in as a parent, I want to ask you to introduce yourself, because I feel like you wear many hats, and it's very important for especially dads, right, to understand why we brought a man to because it had been older women teaching younger women, even though I'd always said that there could be man, woman, but anyhow it works. But I would like you to introduce yourself, because I think that you will do the best in telling people who you really are. So over to you, Big Boss.
Well, Ali, you just caught me on the very wrong side, because one of the things I struggle with is how to sell myself or talk about it. If I talk about myself, even though I am supposedly a marketing professional, but I think first and foremost, in talking about myself, I need to give God all the glory. I need also to give kudos to parents who by reason of listening to God, came together to be able to bring me to this earth. I'm 54 years old. I turned 54 on the 27th of May, and privileged to be part of a family. We're three guys and one babe, as I always call them. And my own family. I have a beautiful wife, Susu. She's just the best. She's the best woman any man could ever hope for, and two lovely children, Akanimo and Morenike. Now, concerning the other part of me, the business part of me, I've had a rare privilege by God to have traversed corporate Nigeria and the corporate, let me call it the corporate world, as we do say, for almost 3 decades. I started my career at the age of 24. I was with Guinness, Nigeria, for 7 years. I moved from Guinness to the Coca-Cola company. I spent 11 years at the Coca-Cola company. I then moved on to Cadbury, the chocolate and everything you can talk about that has to do with the good side of beverage, Bombita, etc. I spent 3 years with Cadbury. I then moved on to Samsung. I was chief executive of Samsung, GM at Coke, commercial director at Cadbury. I was managing director of Samsung, ran the business for about 3 years, 2.5 odd years. And then I moved on to L'Oreal, the beauty giant. And I had about 30 months of a stint before I then decided, to follow my dream and the passion. Corporate Shepherd, is my dream. It's what God had given to me as a mandate. And so today I sit as the founder of Corporate Shepherds. What do? We are trustees of prosperity. I look at an opportunity to help develop, discover, develop, and then help people deploy their individual abilities, businesses, and organizations, really focusing on performance and productivity. So, take all of that together. I'm also, by the grace of God, I have the privilege of serving under the ministry of Dr. Tunde Bakari, the Citadel Global Community Church. I've been at, hitherto called Lateran Assembly, but now Citadel Global Community Church. I have the privilege of serving there as one of the leaders within the leadership team, and that gives me a spectrum of responsibility as Director for Organizational Development. I am an on-air producer. I have a program, Navigate with IB, as my own way to reach out to build the next generation. It runs on 6 radio stations. I sit on my old student association, different leadership roles. I'm Deputy National President, and then also sit on 5 different boards, or 6 actually, 4 non-for-profit and 2 profit financial services, and also communication. So all in all of this put together, I have the role of being a father, a brother, uncle, and the rest is whatever you target to be. I have probably close to 1,000 people under my mentorship, and these are people I interact with on different levels. And I also set up, Navigated ID under corporate shepherd to help me as a small lifeboat to be able to help people, go through the journey of life and be able to share the experiences that they want. So I think I'm just all over the place a bit. But I resigned from corporate work in 2015 from L'Oreal. It's been almost 5 years. And for 5 years now, yes, I'm not even, in terms of fulfillment, I have it 110%. Don't ask me about my bank balance because my entire savings have gone into all of this. You know what it is to run media in 6 stations, and I'm grateful. I have a sponsor in MTN, and before this time, we had Wema in some of the stations. But beyond that, we have had to foot the bills of having to run the media in those other stations that we run in some states in Nigeria.
Right.
So, I mean, overall, Bolani, that's who I am, and then many more. Let me not stretch the limit, but now that's what I can let out. Let me have the others under the carpet. Otherwise, people are just going to say, "Is this guy okay?" Yes, I am. But hey, that's what life is.
Right. So, Big Boss, you see, that's why I wanted you to be the one. That's like a whole mouthful, like of introduction of who you are, and and the reason why I actually wanted that was to let almost because this is a very special edition, especially targeted towards the dads because it's Father's Day.
Yeah.
I want people to sort of understand your background as a technocrat, as a Christian, like you mentioned, and as a family man, and then let's see how these things can work. How they are balanced. That type of thing. How are you even balancing it? Do you understand that? That really is. You see, somebody already said, "Thank God for you, sir." Like, like you are.
Thank you.
You are busy. I know, right? Awesome. Okay. So, how are you feeling? And this is very critical. Remember, for me, many people are at different phases of their lives and parenting because life is not a rehearsal. This is it. In this season of your life, how are you feeling as a parent? How are you feeling?
Honestly, Bolani, the word is great. Great is the word. Let me tell you, and I'm going to try to birth this in scripture. My wife and I have two beautiful children. Our first child, who is a boy, well, he's a man now, he's 25. When you look at the word of God, and in Proverbs 10, verse 1, it talks about that a wise son brings joy to his father. That is what Akanimo represents to us. We're grateful to God for such a lovely gift. Akanimo is is the best, is the son that makes the father's heart glad. And by the way, I never knew that was scriptural. My father used to address me in that way growing up. It was until God. When I got into my walk with God deeply that I found it in the scripture. And then I realized that I now have a son in whom the same spirit my father must have felt about me, and he kept addressing me such. You can ask Baba anytime you see him, ask him. He will tell you, and he always called me the son that makes the father's heart glad. That's where I am with my son. Now, then my beautiful angel, or our beautiful angel, Morenike Udarabasi, she's 7. Um, don't be surprised if she comes in here any moment from now, and then just trying to catch daddy. Now, you look at Psalm 144, where he talks about the daughter that is sculptured in the palace style. She's growing up, every day you're seeing the fullness and the grace of the work, the mom putting in my little 2 cents. And thank God for COVID. I mean, outside of the death, for me, COVID has been a fantastic ally. If take away all the deaths that people dying, if that didn't happen, COVID would have been the best form of resetting everything and priorities. I've had an excellent time sitting with her, studying with her, which I never used to do in full. Now I can say so much. We bonded so well that that's why I said she's a daughter that is being sculptured in the palace style. And what if you were in my shoes, how would you feel? You'll feel great. You'll feel ecstatic. I mean, and that's really honestly that's how I feel.
Wow. Did you guys hear that though? Like he's got a 25-year-old and a 7-year-old. I almost feel like whatever we'll go further into things you wish you did well or you could have done better, that kind of thing. I feel
Yeah.
like God gave you and your wife, Auntie Susu, um, another chance, almost like you're parenting in two generations, and that's actually very exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very exciting. But let me tell you, when we take Monica to school, or maybe we go for PTA, sometimes they'll look at you and say, "Oh, is that your grandchild?" And I'm like, "Oh, my daughter." So, because you'll be finding that they just wonder how would a man like that, and then even she has the same challenge in school. They say, "Your dad is old." She says, "Really?" Then, she had always said when she was growing up, she asked, "How old are you?" And then we'll say 101 years. So she will now say, "My daddy is 101." She was about two then. She'll keep telling you, "How old are you?" I said, "Okay, I'm 100." And then she took it hook, line, and sinker, but now that can't work now and again. So, those things that your mom and dad used to tell you. And so you tell her 100. So if you get to school and say, "My dad is 100 years old." And then when they now see the dad, they'll say, "Your dad is old." I mean, just the mix of all of that, and we didn't have that in the early years when we were younger, when we had a Kanimo. So it's been amazing, Bolale, to be honest. It's a retirement package for me that is, and by the way, don't tell people I said this. I'd always wanted a girl. She knows, by the way. I was praying that our first child would be a girl. I really wanted a girl. But when the Lord showed us that our child, we never did anything like trying to find out the gender. We didn't. We never did at all. But it was just divine that God revealed the sex of our child to my wife. And the minute she said to me, and I received the same, that was it. In fact, he had his name before he was still in the womb when his name got to me. So Akanimo, which means a child is greater than wealth or riches, Akanimo. I received it even before he was born. So, but that didn't in any way, spoil anything. I mean, it didn't change anything. But you then imagine now that I now know what it takes to, father a girl, and then she's all over. She wakes up in the morning. She just comes into the room, comes to my side of the bed and wraps her hand around my head and said, "Daddy, are you asleep?" I said, and then, "I love you." And then, you know, pure undiluted love. I mean, if she was older, would I get that? Maybe I'm still waiting because we are coming up the ladder. But I tell you, that's the kind of experience, and it's I'm blessed of God to have put them apart. If they had followed each other, maybe you'd have been running around with school fees, and you'd be wondering, oh, she wouldn't even remember that there's a dad.
But really, oh, by the way, I need to then explain to people, maybe not that I need to, but I'd love to let everybody know why we both have the same surnames. Can you say I look like him, right? Don't I? Okay, let me give you up close. Because I look like you. I have to look like you. Okay, I don't.
Well,
But he is so Big Brother. Well, ID Enang is my oldest, is the head of the family. That's what I call him. He's my husband Daniel's eldest brother, and he is such a darling. I think we should just quickly throw in this. I remember when I first met you, when Daniel and I started dating. I think you were living in Kenya then, when Daniel and I started dating in 2000. And then when you moved back to Nigeria, then I met you, and Auntie Susu.
yeah.
And you and I just became Pals, I remember one day you said to me, even if you don't marry Daniel, I will beat the boy that took you away from him, and then I'll come for your wedding. I laughed and laughed. I'm like, what? I'm like, it's fine. I'll marry him. Just for you, I'll marry him. I'm joking, but such a privilege for me to be a part of the Enang family. And because I've watched you and Auntie Sister, and I've watched also Daddy and Mommy. And I felt that you are a good interface between those generations. So then talk about how daddy parented you, because I mean my father-in-law is just amazing. We've called him today to say happy Father's Day. He's just, and my mommy-in-law, my mom, don't get me started on mommy. You know, mommy and I gist. So I just thought that, I think, not because I'm married to the Enang family, but because truly I have seen things that I believe the world can learn a lot from, both from elder, daddy, grandpa, Asuko, John Enang, and you. I feel like, and my husband, I mean, Daniel is such a sweetheart. I feel like there's a lot that we can learn. So, I'm going to dive into. So, for those who are wondering, why do they have the same surname? That is why we have the same surname. We're from the same family. Okay, big boss. Okay, so, okay, now let's jump. Big boss, what informed? I feel like going straight into my questions.
Feel free.
But you followed it though. I was going to ask how you felt as a first time dad. How did you feel when you first had a Akanimo? How
Oh
was
my.
that for you?
Academy came on the 1st of January 1995. And December 31st, the New Year's Eve, I remember my wife, she was then at Ethiopia Hospital Clinic. You know, she's a doctor, an optometrist. And we went to say, visit some of our friends, Dr. Ogbo, those of them that were in the doctor's quarters. And I remember vividly, we sat there, this was about 4 or 5 in the evening. And the next thing, I'd read all kinds of books. I'd read everything that had to do with pregnancy, delivery, blah, blah, blah. First dad experience. And then she started feeling funny and said, "Oh, I have a pain on this side." And it was clear that, he had kicked it. And at that point, Dr. Bo turned to her and said, "Tutu, now the guy is getting ready to come out." And we said, no, you should just chill, kind of. And so we had to go back home. But all through the night, it was a bit uncomfortable. And so very early in the morning, I had to drive her to the hospital. That was the 1st of January. And then she went through the process, but it took about 12 hours. Akanimo came at 7:35. I remember very vividly, 7:35 p.m. But we were there and then she had to go through all kinds. Not anything out of the ordinary, but it was just a big baby. And the men thought of it because at some point it was in between. Was she going to have a cesarean section, or they had to come naturally? Because I was in there with her, and when they would ask her to push, she would go all the way. And that was the day in that labor room. I can picture it almost. I saw the baby move, come to a point, and then go back. The movement and everything. I was sitting there, and I was like, man, any man that does not respect a woman is a fool. Those were the thoughts going through my mind. Can I? And I sat there, and it wasn't so. It was at a stage where they were going to have to call in the anesthetist, get the surgeon on standby, blah blah, and they were going to, because they had gone through some whatever. She was a bit dilated, blah blah blah. You know the language. And we raced out, my best man and I, to try go get the anesthetist. And they got into my car, drove there, and they said the person had left. We came back. It was almost like commotion. I was almost running cuckoo because for me, nothing had to happen to her. But thank God and thank God for everything. By the time we got back and I raced in, that was the child coming through. So I was there, and then I saw Akanimo come through. I saw the baby come through, and it was big. And at that moment, I just looked at my wife and I looked at God and I said, God is awesome. So that was the moment. That was the dad moment for me. The dad moment was actually witnessing the delivery of my first child, and then they had to clean and all of that. I still have the image vividly represented here. One of the things I told myself, never would I in every way, anyway, you know, I've never had to hit my wife. It's not, I've never done it, and I trust God by His grace. Until I go down, I would never hit my wife, and I promised to keep her and to be the best I can be. And then in our 27 years, almost 27 years, God has been faithful. So, that moment, it became a big aha moment for me, and I then said to myself, I need a very serious corner code to love and to cherish and to keep those people, as many of them as they come, as my family. They'll be my first institution, which I will never tamper out with. That's
Wow.
just it. That's the truth.
That's interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's amazing that you remember the dates, the time, the episode, how things went. That's
I'll
powerful.
tell you the doctors that were there, their names and all that. And I remember
Wow.
everything. I just want to save you the time.
Thank you. Okay. So, guys, please send in your questions. There's already a question here that I'm going to take now. I wonder how you're going to answer this one. But so that's the question. But please, everyone, if you can share, put it on your watch parties, so share around with people, let them know we're here. It will be lovely. There's so much to learn. We're going to be very tight with time, but there's so much to learn. Big bro. So somebody's asking. Interesting. Can you share if there was a deliberate, I think the underlining word is deliberate reason to have the children wide apart?
There was no reason under the sun. And, there's a common joke for us between my wife and I. We had this debate. I said, I just want to settle on two. My wife said, well, we'll look at three, and all of that. So we were in the mood. Akanimo came 95, and then we're in the groove. We kicked off, and then, the usual first year, second year, nothing, fourth year, and we say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? Nothing, things were not working the way they should. And then we started checking and having to go through a series of tests and all of that. But each test we went, they always tell us, you guys go, there's nothing wrong. And then it was at that point, my wife had to take on some medication that actually made her add some weight and all of that. And the more they pumped her with this thing, the more I was very uncomfortable because hey, we didn't need anything to have the first spark. But known unto God is worked from eternity. I can tell you that we had two failed IVFs. We had one in Nigeria, and the second was in Italy, but they failed. It was after the second one, before the second one failed, before it failed, I just had this strong urge and then habit deep in my spirit that it came like a small note on the tablet of my heart. Do you know? And it was more or less a message saying, "Do you know what I'm doing to delay your children?" And I said, "No." He said, "What if the child you desire so badly becomes one that will cause you a lot more pain, like being an invalid? Would you still love to have the child?" And I said, "No." This was a conversation I was having in the night season. And when I woke up, I said to my wife, "You know what, my dear? Don't worry. We already have a bundle of joy. I'm okay. Let's go home. Let's seal that." So that was it. Well, the rest is history, as they always say. And then now we have a queen in the house who's
Yes, you do.
the second in
Yes.
command when it comes to the feminine side. I'm the only man in the house in the midst of women. So I'm blessed amongst women. Right now, everyone in the house, I'm the only man. The rest of the people are all women. That means,
So you are spoiled.
so, well, I wish I was, but I'm pampered, kind of pampered.
That's
So I
nice.
hope I answered your question. No, there was no plan. It was
I
just
think you did a
fine.
you did a great job. You did a
Yeah.
great job there. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. Okay. So, as a parent, as a dad, because I'm going to really race through questions with you now. Okay. Yes. There's another question, and we'll float that question, but I want to quickly ask you something, and it's very similar to this. What informed your parenting principles as a person? What informed you?
Okay, for me, first of all, let me put it this way: that my principles were better on how I was groomed by my own parents on one side, but it was kind of, um, I'd say, mind blowing because on my wife's side too, they had very solid principles that enabled how she was also groomed. And one of the things that we did well, I mean, I call my wife, oh baby, you know that, and she calls me, oh boy. So when I say, oh baby, we sat down and we said, what type of home do we really want? And you could see a blend, a fusion of the principles were aligned, and there wasn't any, the room for air or a disconnect was little or didn't exist. I mean, it can't be all 100% put in, but I'd say that alignment was so glued. But I must tell you that the biggest and the greatest principle from my end now, since we're talking further, so that I can focus on my male counterparts, was really driven around how my father raised me. My father always said that we must read. Yeah, he started with me, and I know he passed me down too. And ask your husband, read the book of Proverbs. Proverbs, one chapter a day. And the principles that I took out of my father, number one, was personified around wisdom. Wisdom. My father would say, what makes a man is his word. I still said that to him today. He drummed that into me early enough around respect and accountability. If you say, I will, trust God, except God does not want it, and a force majeure, an act of God that you can. But make sure your word is your bond, is your honor. I lived and I have lived with that all the days of my life, and I trust God I will till I see the Lord. And this was, if we take it all around that, it's encircled in the book of Proverbs. Words shape who we are. Our world is framed by our words. And so, with necessity, I remember very vividly. I said that to my dad today when I was, I took him through a journey of how he dealt with me growing up. That man, your husband had a good time.
He's the baby.
He had a good time. My father cracked me in different dimensions. I was telling him today, the man was cracked over. I said, you just punished me for nothing. You know, and I told him instances, he said, you still remember everything. I said, yes. And the one you may not even remember, let me tell you about this. But one that I can never forget, Bolale, Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 8. I'll read that part, then you can see where the principles were framed. In fact, it was from verse 8 then till about verse 16 or thereabout, my dad. My child, he will tell you, an NLT says, my child, listen when your father corrects you, and don't neglect your mother's instruction. What you learn from them will crown you with grace and be a chain of honor around your neck. My father said this to me all the time. And you know what? At that time, it was really the KJV we used. He would tell you, my father, hear the instruction of my son, sorry, hear the instruction of your father, and forsake not the law of your mother, for they shall be ornaments of grace upon your head and chains around your neck. If you want a scripture, that it was in Proverbs 1 from verse 8. And then my father would turn around and look at me there and say, if sinners entice you, don't consent to, he will tell you, go to Proverbs. So every time you would do anything, my father will tell you, have you been reading? If you read chapters 1 to 31, he said you'll never lack wisdom. And that's the only place I can tell you. And that is silly. Then having a wife like Susu who has come from a totally different background, but the principles were aligned. Our grandparents, and I must say this. Do you know that both of us are products of solid grandparenting? My maternal grandfather was I mean, if only God had kept him alive till today, he will probably be a man that I would celebrate even much more than my own parents. Same with my maternal grandmother. That was exactly what happened with my wife. Our maternal grandparents shaped her. My maternal grandparents shaped me. So we were shaped by our grandparents, even though we had parents. My grandfather was wait till my book. My book is about to be out in another couple of months. You know,
Wow.
I don't know the title, but it's going to be out. You'll see the vivid account of how my grandfather and grandmother did everything.
Mm.
So that's really the truth. That's how it happened. So I can relate to when you talked about Lois coming from your grandmother and then to you. And that same grace Paul was telling Timothy has been extended to you. So the grace that you see started from my grandparents to my parents and then to me. And the same is being transmitted into our children because we're all, same pivot. It's God's grace.
Because this is powerful. I know Daniel talks a lot about yeah, it's mommy's mommy, and
Yeah,
how she used to try and read books with her, and she was trying to learn English language with him.
yeah.
So he
People,
talked a lot. In fact, there's a story Daniel told me about the fact that this is powerful. I must share it. I actually must. We've got a lot of comments here. I'm coming, guys. Daniel told me that when mommy's mom, that's your maternal
yeah, we used
grandmother, passed on,
to. Yeah, mommy.
when mommy passed on, that daddy cried. That's the first time he ever saw Grandpa Enang, his dad, daddy, cry.
Yeah,
And do you know, Daniel actually told me this a few days ago, that did something to his mind. He said to himself, wow, if his own dad can be crying about the death of not his own mom, but the death of his
it's
mother-in-law. And I know daddy is very stately, daddy is a very poised, dignified. Oh, I just love
yeah,
daddy. Daddy and mommy are just cute. You know, they're
yeah.
just really so cute. Anyway,
Yeah.
happy birthday to mommy. Mommy turned 78 on Friday. Hey? I'm very excited about that. My mother-in-law turned 78. I'm really excited. But Daniel said to me that informed how he began to perceive even in-laws. Because I noticed that my mother can never do wrong. You know how kids are like, my mommy did this. My husband is always like, no, mommy is. I'm like, in 11 years of marriage, my mother can never do wrong in front of Daniel. So he said to me, he had that heritage from daddy, that daddy loved his wife's mother. That is powerful, guys. Guys, this is
You know,
super.
Colando, I think it's actually God is a God generational God. Anyone who actually wants to actualize the life further must tap into the spirit of what God expects. If you go look at the book of Matthew, between one generation to the other, it took about 14 years. 14 years each. And you have 14 in 3 different places. And so you'll find that in my own case, I have the best mother-in-law in the world. You can't go to my mother-in-law today. If I want to get away with anything, I will.
Mommy rocks.
But mommy she's the only one. I was given this chieftaincy title, Obongwan, way back in the village. You've forgotten. Obongwan, chief helper. Even you've forgotten. She's the only one that calls me Obong. My mother-in-law is the queen of queens. And I tell you, she has never one day, I don't know, we've never had to. And same goes across all the boys, Daniel, and same thing with Idong, all the way through. A lot of them, they didn't have the privilege. I spent, there's some good gap between us. Just in case our listeners could understand, on the average, I have about 6 to 7 years between my younger ones. And so, Daniel, your husband will probably be about 9 or something, some crazy odd years in between. I practically had to take care of both of them. I was their bodyguard and everything. So that's why they call me Big Boss. But nonetheless, I can speak to all the things that happened. Like my maternal grandmother did not go to school, but she started reading Daniel's books. And his books, she read it, studying with him. And then after a while, she only read the Efik Bible initially. She started reading the English Bible based on the learning she got from sitting and tutoring Daniel at home. That's what happened with Mommy.
That's
And she was
powerful.
there all the way through with us, for us. And I lived with her most of the time. When it was holiday time, I'll just leave my parents. I'll face a Butemet to go and stay with my grandparents. So,
Wow.
I mean, lovely memories, but there were a lot of things everything we saw, I saw, was just from my grandfather. He put, no, Bolani, let me say this to you and to the beautiful viewers.
Yeah.
I thank God for the grace He's given me. I'm a product of love. I was born into a spirit of love. Why? Most of the women around me, when I came out, my dad had all his sisters, his stepsisters, my aunties, then my mom, my grandmom, and all of that all around me. And so with all those women, and I was the first child, and being a boy, I was so doted, pampered, and so love was just exuding from every part. So right now, I do not know what it takes to hate. It is not in my capacity to hate because I'm a product of love. My aunties till this day, Auntie Grace, all of them, you dare not tell any one of them that you're any sick. Everybody will come over to Lagos. All of that, all coming from the threshold of grandparenting, parenting, and then I being, the owner, the purveyor, and then how else? What else would I do? It will continue with my own children. And my children have also seen how grandpa and grandma have done same. They will do same. And that's how it becomes generational. But we've lost that in parenting because a lot of absentee parents have just gone AWOL and some have become slightly unaccountable and irresponsible, but they don't know that the kids are watching and they are growing up to model what they see, not what they were told.
Wow, Big Bros, this is super. Like honestly, I'm sitting. I think just it's interesting how we've not had some of these conversations before, you and I. But like as you're saying them, I'm like, yes, Daniel told me that part. And for everyone listening, you know what I'm picking from these guys is there is something powerful about the kind of support structure that you have around you, that there is something powerful. And it looks like all the older parents that have come on this show have said the same thing about the people that you surround yourself with. And you specifically, Uncle Idy, you are really zoning into the greatness of
Oh wow, what's going on?
yeah, no, it's sorry about that, everyone. I was saying quickly that my mother-in-law calls me every month, and she doesn't say, "Oh, Balale, you haven't called." At first, I thought that was a little bit strange. Wouldn't she be upset that I'm not calling? But after 11 years, I realized that they just love me the way they love their son, simple. And
Yeah.
sometimes, mommy will call me when she knows I'm not at home because she just wants to talk to me and not her baby. I'm like, mommy, wait. She's like, no, no, no. You're the one I want to talk to. Don't worry about Dupong. And then, and to be honest, and I think this goes for everyone who is a mother-in-law, a father-in-law, an uncle, a brother-in-law, a sister-in-law. I also think that these things are very important, even in the way the children see how we relate. Because sometimes the kids are asking me, who's the exact parent? Is that your, because they're not sure. Is it mommy's mommy or daddy. So like, yeah, my mommy, but on daddy's side, I don't know how to explain it to them yet. But I just think it's powerful that we have fantastic relationships with our in-laws. And I know it's not everybody that is blessed that way, but as much as you can do, please push it. Okay, Big Boss, I want to quickly put up some of them. So this interesting, my older sister, and she's asking what advice she will give on raising a son in this generation. But see what people have said about you, Big Boss, that you are very pampered, and and people like to see you, And Damala is saying he's got a lot of respect for you, follows you
Oh,
on.
thank you,
Okay,
Dama. Thank you.
connected. And another person is Stay Big Bros, Uncle ID. And I just
Thank
think lots of comments. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And you see what Ronke is saying? You're a product of love. You don't know what it means to hate. And that is so powerful. So, Big Bros, let's go back to that question. What advice would you give on raising a son in this generation? I know we're running out of time, but we will do this. Let's go.
Now, the first thing I'll say, in all of the things that we said, that I talked about my grandparents, my parents, and of course, my own family, there's a common denominator, and that is God. Knowing God makes all the difference. My grandparents they were not religious. They knew God for themselves. My parents know God for themselves. We know God for ourselves. And so in that lies a common denominator, because God is love. And everything that comes around him is about light, because whatever light touches leaves. Now, what advice would I give you in raising a son in this generation? Because I have a son that is in this generation. The first advice I'll give you is that your answers are between your knees and the ground. Like David did, you must pray. Solomon did not jump on the wealth he got, but someone had to stand in the gap to pre-pray, pre-pray. Many parents now do not, they want it sharp, sharp, sharp. Your child cannot be fashioned according to the similitude of the palace if you don't pray through. You must pray and trust God to be, first of all, tell you what type of child is coming. And even if you don't know, but if your spirit is so open to understand the architecture of the child that is coming, the Lord will grant you wisdom to be able to know how to deal with that child. So there's a spiritual dimension to it that every parent must not joke with. I tell you, because it is what you are when you are nobody, when you know no one. When you grab it, that's what will take you to the up. I always tell people that I mentor, I said, there's a Yoruba, I'll say it in Yoruba, I try to interpret it in English. He says, there's an adage that says, Gote yeba jeluman befo. It is what the bird eats that the bird flies with. It is what takes you to the top that will keep you there. If you are a praying parent, your child will be all the way taken to the top with prayer. I don't know if I've lost you, Bolanle. Are you there? Okay.
I am. I just wanted to zone in on you so
Okay.
that everybody could, yeah. So you're saying praying.
Prayer. So the first responsibility for you as a parent is to pray and seed your child in that context, so that you also have to build a memorial. I tell you, when we had a baby, before he was born, and when we had his naming, yes, I had his name. God had given me an implant of his name. Like I said to you, Akanimo did not just drop from the skies. By the way, my name is Idorian. Every single one of us, I can say that to you authoritatively, all our names were given to my dad before we came in. My dad called me Idorian. And in his head and in his mind and in his spirit, he had seen me in a vision, and he said, that is my hope. That is my hope in the Lord. Idorian means hope. This one will go to places where I never stepped into. Today, I've been to far more countries and I've exceeded beyond whatever my father ever imagined, because it started from the point of communion with God. Don't dismiss those things because they are key. See what you'll do thereafter. It is the spirit, the things you see in the spiritual that will drive the physical. The manifestation of the sons of God will not come in physicality. It will come in the spirit. And if you don't take it from there and bring it down and download in today's app, there's no way you can play with the device. The device will be subject to the whims and caprices of the world. And if you go to Proverbs, it will show you in Proverbs where it says, my son, if sinners entice thee, consent ye not. How? It is a spiritual exercise. How can a son determine what is good and bad? The knowledge of the good and bad started from the garden, and there were two trees. At every point in time, we always have choices. And because there are chances, there are choices, and there are consequences. If you want to raise a child in this generation, a generation that is made in computer, that is born into technology, you first and foremost must have the architecture of technology in the spirit, because there's nothing we are looking for now that is not in the Word of God.
That's right.
And that
Wow.
is where I will tell you today, Akanimo, by the grace of God, God has kept him. I mean, imagine sending a young 15, 16-year-old boy to the UK. The mother cried blue black when we dropped him in the school for his IB. He went to Malvern College. My wife cried from Malvern all the way back to London, 2.5 hours. She had never been away from this boy for 16 years. But 16 years that he had been with us was a solid time to be able to build and mold him such that he got in there. And despite all that would happen, a year after during the PTA, they asked us, your son is so amazing that there are strong values that are showing, because even some of the subjects they were teaching them had stuff that had to do with Gnostics. And he would always have a point of view that was direct. If you don't
Wow.
invest, you cannot divest. Many of us as parents don't invest. We do what? We divest, and we outsource the responsibility. My wife, I tell you, in 1994, Akanimo came 95. I begged her. I said, resign. Come on, I'll open a clinic for you. I paid rent for 2 years. 1 year ran through. My wife did not resign. By the time she came over to start that, because I knew it was important for her to run her clinic and be close to the home. But she did it after 1 year. From that day, we had to put the blend. That story for another day. While I was flying and going everywhere, she was there. And we always create the balance. We played a good cop, bad cop. Akanimo is probably watching this now. So you say, so what? This is what these people always, because I sent the link to him. But I'm going to say to you, ma'am, the other thing that you also need to do, look around. Who is surrounding? You see, flies do not come if there's nothing, they don't smell something. Who are the kind of people around your children? Many of us get carried away by the children's parents, how they'll be offended. So you can't come to my house. Tell you, me, I'm very blunt though. Where did you, Oga? Sorry, bros, this guy should not come here again. If he's going to come here, I want to see the father and the mother. I don't entertain any sleepover unless I know you today. I know you from the home. Many of us accommodate sleepovers. You don't have a clue what spirit is running their homes. And you attract foreign, just like First Act 77 came into Nigeria. From that day, we lost every sense of duty as a nation. And we are wondering, why are there foreign spirits in our land? When we invited them, Festival of Arts and Culture, you invite spirits into your home. You are saying you are doing sleepover. A child will bring a wrong spirit into your home after that, and consistently spits in it. Your children begin to change right before your eyes, but you don't spot the gorilla because you're not sensitive in the spirit. Your body must, your spirit man must be awake and alive. That's it. Don't be like the
Wow.
spirit of Samson.
Wow. But that's powerful. Like, I didn't even think that you'll answer that question that way. And it's making me really, really think very deeply. Like, the spiritual is very important as we're raising children, no matter, irrespective of the generations, right? it's very important. Thank you so much for touching on that. I'm going to ask you about two more questions. Please, guys, if you have questions, I'm here. I'm watching. I'm waiting. Yes, Brunke was highlighting what you said, that knowing God makes all the difference. So you traveled a lot when your child was, especially your first child, your first son was being raised. What do you think you could have done better? That's one. And then two, what would you tell your 25, 35, 45-year-old self? So I'm combining two questions in one.
One of the times, when I tell you that Akanimo is the son that makes the father's heart glad, I say that with every duty, sense of duty and glory to God in the highest. Akanimo growing up, I would say that, even at the point of expatriation that we lived in Kenya, I was always, let me tell you, just as a way, just as an analogy to describe it, when I worked with, when I was with Coca-Cola, I traveled a lot. Right? I traveled, forget it. And I used to buy my son those video games. Then I moved from Coca-Cola to Cadbury. And then one day, my son called me and said, Daddy, and he showed me the stack of video games were this high. And the one from Cadbury was this low. He said, Dad, what's going on? I know, because every trip, he will tell me G4, 10, whatever, and I'll just buy. Those things were expensive, $35, $40, just taking all kinds. He just wanted video games, by the way. But, I did that with a lot of relish because I wanted my son, it was something he loved. Not that he will play them every time. No, there were rules. You don't go into games unless a weekend. Those were rules of engagement in the house. But, one place I know that I didn't do excellently well would have been to take exceptional care to at least devote a day or two to take my son to school in the morning. Yes, you had a driver. Yes, there was a separate car for school run. Yes, my wife would always go every day. But my wife doggedly went every day to Green Springs. But I never missed the occasions where they has to do with classwork or the PTA, all those. I never missed that. But the one I missed most was the daddy moments that I wish I could. Now, how have I repaired that breach? In the current dispensation before COVID, I ensure we have a routine, sort of as a family. We wake up first thing, have a uh, uh, one little madam, is what I call her. We go for a walk. By the time we are back, we run in, have a morning devotion and whatever. Sometimes we have the devotion. Immediately the devotion, she goes to have a shower. We go to have a walk, 45-minute walk. By the time we are back, and now she's ready for school. So every day, I endeavor to drive my daughter to school. And initially, we started having daddy. That's when the daddy-daughter talk was really happening. Then one day, this was the shocking part for me. My wife was not with us, so whenever she comes, she sits in front. My daughter sits at the back, and we strap her. Then there was a day the mom was not coming close, and she said, "Is your wife coming?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I want to sit in front." Then I began to see competition. Then I said, "No, go and sit at the back. I'll strap you." And she sat there. She was not very happy. But fast forward to the day my wife didn't come, and I said to her, "Come to the front," and I strapped her. I noticed that our conversations changed. And then we were having these daddy-daughter moments. But those were the things I needed to relieve because I missed them in my first journey.
Wow.
And it's working now. Now, what was that second question you asked me? What would I say to 25 and 35-year-olds?
Yes.
Friends, the only place I can take you to is the Word of God whilst we're there. And I'm going to give you two sets of scriptures combined for both. A guy that is 25 and a guy that is 35, the difference between them, okay, let's be gender sensitive. Boy or girl, it's just a decade, but that decade can be very disruptive. Ecclesiastes chapter 9. So if you have them, chapter 9, verse 10, whatever your hand, if I could speak to my 25-year-old self, and what would I say? And to my 35-year-old self, I would say yet again, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might. For there is no work or wisdom or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going. And then I will always remember, this was the scripture that stayed with me. The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to men of understanding, nor favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to them all.
Right.
That scripture is golden to either a 25 or a 35-year-old. And to me, it was golden when I was 25. It was even more golden when I was 35. Listen, at 25, I started my corporate career at 24 when I joined Guinness. At 35, I was in Kenya, Nairobi. I was overseeing 39 countries for the Coca-Cola company. The second scripture is in Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 10. This is the whole subject that will keep you rooted. And it reads, and I quote, I'm reading from the New King James. It says, if the axe is dull and one does not sharpen the edge, then he must use more strength. But wisdom brings success. If you want to really grow, you must sharpen your saw, sharpen the edge. Your axe cannot be dull and you expect success. Personal improvement, continuous improvement, make evaluation on the engine of your progress. You will not lack. Whatever band or decade you find yourself, with this balanced Ecclesiastes 9, 10, 11, and then Ecclesiastes 10, 10, you will have a straight run.
Wow. This has been super, and I am drawing to a close in about 2 minutes. But I want you, Big Boss, to give me practical tips on this one, and then a closing word to our generation. So, share maybe about 2 or 3 practical tips on how to boost your child's confidence.
The first thing I will tell you, my 7-year-old daughter, what do I do to boost her confidence? Morenica, initially, you could see people who always, this thing we tell kids, shush, don't go there, stop asking. I don't encourage it. Let her ask. Let her tell. Let her do it. She takes mommy has a rule, don't grab people's phones because, they're that age. So there's a rule, don't touch people's phones because she could smash them. But when it comes to daddy's phone, not because daddy wants to spoil her, I'll say to her, you can touch that phone with my permission. Now, I'll tell you something that happened yesterday. And it just said to me, all that I've been pushing into my daughter has worked well for me. Now, because of COVID, they now have this virtual school. So there's a tablet that she has. The mom had to put a SIM in the tablet for her study, Mondays through Fridays. And in there, they also use WhatsApp. So she uses it to call her brother. And then yesterday, I got a text message through WhatsApp. Daddy, can I watch television for 2 hours? And then she had smileys and all that. I'm not kidding. I didn't respond. And then she came back and said to me, Daddy, why are you not responding? I didn't respond. Then she came to me this morning and said, Daddy, yesterday I sent several messages to you. You didn't respond. I said, because I didn't know who was sending the message. And she looked at me and said, but it's me. I said, no. I just saw number. Number is not Morenike. Number is not Enang. And I said, you remember what I said to you? On no account, even under supervision, must you speak to anyone outside of your brother, your mommy, or your daddy. So if any number comes to you and wants to chat with you, you can see why you must not respond. That was a message I was sending to her, and she was confident enough to come back and say, yeah, Dad, now I get you. She understood and got the message of what I've been telling her. But if I had responded, I wouldn't be able to tell her the import of don't answer anyone because they are now free to air. Any can just, creep in without your knowledge. So what am I doing? I'm securing my space. In securing that space, I've allowed my child be open. I'll tell you another example. We create the open channel because there's something we call in our family, we all come together, and then that was before Morenica came. Whenever we come to open court, and we call it you know, free everything you feel, just talk about it. Most times I always end up being the one to get the back end of the stick. I get it. Mommy and son are always against, I always feel they're against me. I will never win. But in the process and in the fullness of time, we have built such a tight fortress. This last BLM, our son called us, sent us a message. I say this with every sense of duty and grace. He might be watching me, so he knows. There was nothing as gratifying that our son could write to us and say, I don't want you guys to get, this is not about being religious, churchy, and everything. And I respect you as my parents, but these are questions I have issues with. And because of this, Black Lives Matter, I want to go out for the next whatever. And we had a conversation. How many of you would your children tell you today that they want to go out for BLM, the BLM parade? You know what? The output, which is productivity, is coming from the input, which is discipline. How did you discipline your child? It is discipline that will make the child make prioritized, sensitive choices, which will include you. And then the last part of it will be productivity. Productivity is always the output of a process. So when you see a child behave in a certain way, you need to look at the input. Many times, parents don't blame themselves, they blame somebody, but they are the root causes of it. And it starts from discipline. Discipline, whatever shape, form, discipline. Discipline in terms of time, discipline in terms of speaking, discipline. But we see discipline as that's not discipline. Yes, I know that the Bible says, spare the rod, you spoil the child. I also know the Bible says, train up a child, train up. Training involves something different because it's in the act of training that you discipline. But in doing that, there are rules, there are consequences, there are chances, like my Pastor B will tell me, there are choices and there are consequences. So in all of that, as parents, I believe that we must look back and think differently. You see why, Bolani, when you opened, I said to you, I'm grateful to God for giving me a wonderful spouse. I mean, I can't say that without, I must acknowledge that after God, the greatest successes I've recorded, to God be the glory, but I thank God for a great wife. And I thank God for a better and the best family I could have. Because the family has been the support structure built around me to give me the impetus to go on, keep going, and then get the laurels, and then we share the booty. That's the way I see it.
Wow. Mr. Idy, as people will call you, but Uncle Idy and my own big bros, Uncle Big Bros, you rock. Even show Ogunjobi says, wow, thank you for that tip, sir. And I am so thankful. Somebody here on YouTube says that yes, we will. Yeah, you can find it straight on YouTube. Yes, you can look at it straight on YouTube, and it will be on my Facebook page, Bolale Daniel Enang on my Facebook page, and then on my YouTube channel, it will be there. It is there. This is the third of this series. That's Bolale Enang. You will find it, the family enthusiast. Please subscribe. Click on the notification bell so that every time we do videos and upload and things like this, you are able to see. Big Boss, this has been excellent. Wow. Okay. Now I am truly on my way. We're truly on our way out. And I'm going to give you a minute to say a word, a closing word to this generation, to my generation, because this is why we've had you. Guys, hasn't this been amazing? I think this has been super excellent. So, Big Boss, closing word on our way out.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bolande, for this opportunity. And to everyone who's listening in, watching, whatever form or shape, thank you for tuning in. And those that watch hereafter, I want to share a personal experience as a closing item. A few months back, when at the advent of COVID, my institution that I run, that I founded, Corporate Shepherds, we just had, COVID hit everybody everywhere. And to be honest, when I started getting notes from one of our sponsors on the radio program that they were not continuing again. They were off for 3 months. And then a few other training, other things I would do for some clients knocked off. You know, as human as I am, a kind of panic set in. But in the course of going through the rubble of my thoughts and then thinking through my thoughts and then asking God to speak through my vocals, the Lord put a word in my heart and said to me that I should remember one thing, that to secure that is me, to secure myself, I should continue doing what I'm doing. And he gave me the word in Genesis 41:55. And that had to do, I'm going to read that scripture. It says, so when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. Then Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, go to Joseph. Whatever he says to you, do. When the Lord said that to me, instantly, the picture that hit me some months back, Idy, you must remain a go-to person. So GTP became my sign. And I want to push that back to you. That in the days to come, if you want to be successful, you must not do anything outside of people. You cannot do anything outside of people because it is written. It is wealth. People are wealth. The vessels that you find are vessels unto honor. Invest in people. Invest in whatever you do. Relationships, things that have to do with people must settle around you being a go-to person. So that in farming, you must be a solutions provider. If you want to be successful, my friends, be a GTP. A go-to person is visionary. A go-to person can analyze, and you become like the sons of Issachar who understood the times. A go-to person is a good listener. A go-to person is knowledgeable, and a go-to person is compassionate. When you put all of that together, you cannot miss it. Your journey through life, by the grace of God, will be smooth. Yes, there will be hills and valleys, but at the end of it all, people will always beat a pathway to your doorsteps. Why? Because the glory of the latter house shall be greater than the former. Thank you so much for listening, and I bless God for each of you.
Oh, thank you, Big Bros. This has been excellent. Guys, can you just give it up for him wherever you are? Thank you, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you
having me.
so much. On that note, everybody, this is so Big Boss. You say bye to everyone.
My salute to
And
you all. Thank you so much.
all
See you
right,
back another time. Thank
all
you,
right.
buddy.
You rock. Thank you, Big Boss. I'll put you up now in a second. Okay, so for everyone who has listened, don't forget I've got this book that I wrote 2 years ago, Power of the Table, How to Build Connected Families, how to just create open space for you and your children, your family to be able to do things together. And I highly recommend this book. If you can see it, it will make a lot of sense for you. It's called Bringing Up Girls by James Dobson and Bringing Up Boys by James Dobson. Fantastic books. Those are my two recommendations, my three recommendations for this episode. Thank you everyone for joining, and do have a fantastic, spectacular Father's Day celebration. And please watch, when you watch, and just send in your comments, ask more questions. I will float them to Mr. Idy Enang. And remember to subscribe on our YouTube channel. God bless you. Thank you so much. I'll add you again, Big Boss, as we just say goodbye to everybody. And it's bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you, Big Boss. This was fantastic. Oh, somebody's asking me quickly, where do we get the book? On Amazon. You can get Power of the Table on Amazon. It will be such a privilege for me to have you buy on Amazon. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a nice evening, and God bless you. Thank you, Big Boss. Blowing you kisses. Love you lots. God bless you.
Bye.
Good night.